Welcome back to Safe Space. This is your prophetic purpose podcast, and we are in studio, live in studio, with episode 2 with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I love the sound of that, Everett and Candace Smith. And we were talking about navigating through divorce, navigating through a long courtship, friendship, relationships, identifying things that might be an issue, such as depression. And I know that our community tend to shy away from mental health issues, from trauma conversations. And God is raising up, excuse me, new people that have done the work, that are doing the work, that are in our Christian community, that are saying, look, let me come alongside the pastors, the apostles, the evangelists, the teachers, and come alongside and offer another piece of it. The Bible talks about helps in the ministry. Ephesians chapter 4, it talks about God bringing helps, ministry of helps in the ministry. And I believe that our counselors, I believe that our mental health professionals, they are our chaplains. They are what we call helps. They are professionals who have to be vetted, who have to be certified, who have to go through a lot of schooling and certification and retooling, and they too have to do their own work. And what we're seeing in this conversation is that we have Candace, who is a mental health professional, who have her businesses and is married to Everett. They have been lifelong friends for over 17 years, and they're newlyweds. And they have been married. They went to Vegas, just getting you up to date with their story if you didn't listen to the first episode. And they went to Vegas. They tied the knot. Candace waited for this man of God 17 years. And 2 years ago, they reconnected. And Everett had to identify some life-changing issues, some trauma issues, and he has admitted that he needed therapy, he needed counseling, and he's owning up to that. And now he's saying, look, counseling and therapy for him is going to be a lifelong road that he has decided to invest in himself. Yes, he's a Christian. And we pointed out that Elijah, we pointed out that Jonah, we pointed out that David, these people had, we don't want to call it psychotic episode, but they had meltdown. They had depressive, dark moments. Have you, the listeners, have dark thoughts that you're married and you're blaming your spouse and you're saying it's their fault? But sometimes it's hard to get out of bed. Sometimes you can't find joy in why you are together, joy in living, joy in fighting. And you find that you and your partner is at an impasse where communication is null, where both people are like, look, we're no longer good together. We cannot continue on this road. Now, Everett was so brave, and I hope, listeners, you're leaning in and you're taking away tools to use. We call this safe space because they're brave enough to share their story. And when we're at the table, we're sharing the stories that we've been through. This is their testimony. You overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. We've moved away from testimony services in churches, where on Sunday nights we would stand up and tell what God has delivered us from. I think we need to go back to testimony service where we're saying, look, God has given us our brain, God gave us the Holy Spirit, but He comes alongside of us. We still got to participate, we've got to own it, and we've got to do our work. Now that we are planning our honeymoon, now that we have done the marriage in August, and Candice being an only child, I've given her mother the lavish wedding where she didn't rob her mother of seeing her only child walk down the aisles. Tell me why that is important to you, Candace.
Um, growing up, I've been through my own little traumas. Me and my mother we haven't had the best relationship. But through it all, never disrespected her or anything, respected her as my mother. And so one of the things that she always used to say to me is, I can't wait to see you walk down the aisle. I can't wait to see you walk down the aisle. And so it was important for me to make that happen for her. So, and plus I wanted to walk down the aisle. I wanted to wear the dress. I tell you, but I wanted to be that princess for the day, and so that's what I did.
Oh, so that fulfill a lifelong dream of, yes, you went to Vegas because you waited on Everett 17 years. I'm trying to tell you, you're one of those rare, special Proverbs 31 women that know her worth, didn't compromise her worth, stood in your truth, maintaining boundaries, loving Everett as a friend, wanting the best for him, never getting in his way. And when he proposed to you, you said, yes, yes, yes. And now you're Mrs. Smith, and you guys have bought a new home so that you guys can start fresh. How has that been living the past 2 years? Is it everything it's you've hoped it to be, Cinderella complex, or there are human issues that have cropped up?
Human issues, but you never really know anyone until you live with them.
See, I've been trying to tell my listeners that it's something about the vow. It's like crossing over. When you're living together and you're dating, you're really toying and playing with one another. You know what I mean? You can leave anytime you want to. We can start over. And I think that vow issues come into place when that forever comes into when somebody takes on your name, right? And now you're in the space, both of you share the space. It's neither yours nor his, both. And now you're seeing your friend, your husband. You are a business professional with staff and employees. Talk to me about now that you are a mover and a shaker in your own rights. And now you have a husband that now you has submitting being an issue. Talk to me. Let's take the limits off. Talk to me because you're a businesswoman. I want to hear from you. You are used to saying to somebody, go left, go right, and now you have a husband and you have to submit that dirty word.
Yeah. So I am an alpha woman.
Okay, what does that mean, an alpha woman?
I like to be in control.
What do you mean you like to be in control? You haven't read the Bible?
And I like to do it my way.
Oh, you haven't read the Bible, Candace?
I did.
But what you didn't say.
However, society said.
Okay, here we go with society. Go ahead, talk to me.
As a single mama, I was mom and I was dad. And so that's the only role I know.
I like that. See, now we're getting somewhere, Candace. Now you, the mental health professional, and me, the chaplain pastor, we're gonna have fun. Okay, so as a single parent that's navigating life, that have to go out there, because if you don't do it, of course, with God's help, you got to make sure your baby's got shelter, food, everything. So you took on the alpha role. You mama bear and you that lioness. And now you're married to this chocolate man over here, and you don't want to relinquish the reign?
No.
Okay, talk to me.
So I don't have a problem with relinquishing the ring. Okay.
Okay.
I never have a problem with that. Because to me that's more of pride.
Okay.
Okay, and pride to get you in trouble.
All right, help our audience. Talk to me about that.
So there's good pride and there's bad pride. The good pride is going to help you move forward in life. That bad pride is going to keep you stagnant or make you lose everything that you have because you don't want to listen.
Okay.
Um,
Alpha woman, talk to me.
I want to be in control.
Everett, did you hear that?
However,
Okay, there's a however. There's a comma.
if I'm being led right, I don't have no problem with following.
What does that right look like?
Which means if you're not walking the path and doing what you're asking me to do, you can't ask me to do. You can't expect me to do.
What path is that? Let's get clear. What path? Because there's many paths that people talk about.
It could be the financial path, the spiritual path,
okay,
the parenting path,
okay,
the friendship path.
Okay.
And if you're not walking, if I don't feel like you're going in the right direction on any of those paths, I'm not going to follow. And I'm going to voice my opinion whether you want to hear it or not.
Okay. Now, Mr. Everett,
Yes, ma'am.
you heard your new friend bride of 2 years plus 15, right? Now you're living with her. She's a businesswoman. She knows what she wants. She's raised her kids. She's had to growl. She had to go get the bacon and fries. And she understands her boundaries, doing her work. And she's saying, when you lead me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake, I'm the preacher, I'm just preaching. And if you are doing that with God in mind and her in mind, Candace said on Safe Space, she has no problem in relinquishing that alpha and let you take up the A role. Talk to me about that. How does that make you feel when you heard that?
Well, it goes back to our original relationship where we have a good understanding of each other, and what our expectations for and what our boundaries are. And as she says, you walk down a certain path, and sometimes we get off the path, and that causes problems with any relationship. But you have to know what your boundaries are, and if the person keeps going out with boundaries, you got to try to help reel them back in again. And I think that's what really Candace and I have a good balance of knowing what our boundaries are. But as he said, as you get married, things that you used to kind of let slide, oh my God, you have to work on it. It's a constant work and progress. Any kind of relationship is a constant work in progress.
It must be work married to someone who is a mental health professional who has done their work, continue to do their work. And now Candace is saying, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you just help me along. She's the alpha woman, right? There's a lot of women today that were forced based on life circumstances that had to pick up the ball and stay in bound and will not allow any violations because that means violation of peace, violation of protection, violation of provision in their space. That's women that have done their work or men that have done their work.
Right.
And let's put it in the biblical framework. The Bible says that God made Adam first, and then he made Eve to be the helpmeet, to help Adam meet the need. We are in society. We are in our modern day society. And we have the God worldview. We have the worldview, Christian worldview, and we have the world's view. Okay, so here you are. How do you navigate now that the Christian worldview? That's what I wanted to find out, because when we talk about submission in the church worldview, it might look different depending on the denomination, depending on the understanding. Tell me, how do you, Candace Johnson Smith, understand submission biblically?
Biblically, it means, but to me, that
Biblically,
whatever your husband say goes. And he is the head of the household no matter what. And that the woman's supposed to have his back.
That's biblical? Or that's your interpretation?
That's my interpretation. Now, how I feel about it is,
Okay, tell me how you feel.
yes, you let that man be the head of the household. And yes, you are his backbone. But if you see that your man is going to the left when he should be going right, it's your duty as his wife to help him get back on track. You don't let your husband fall.
Okay, so Let me be Everett. Can I be you?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna be. Not okay. Yeah, just think that. Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that based on your interpretation, you need to be his backbone, right? And but if Everett, who is doing his work, says to you, "I'm the man. I'm in charge. I want to handle the finances," and you gonna say what?
Oh, if he want to handle the finances and he can handle it, I'm gonna let him.
Okay.
But
There's a but.
if he comes to me with his chest stuck out and I know better,
Yeah.
it's my job to speak up.
What if he doesn't listen to you and it's financial?
It's if he doesn't listen to me, that's a sense of pride. However, I'm not gonna argue with him. If I know that there's something financial and he can't meet it, and I know it's stressing him out, I'm not gonna continue to argue with you about me helping you. I'm just gonna go do it.
Okay, Everett, talk to me.
Mhm.
Okay. Candace is pretty straightforward. She black and white. She have no grace, right? And she's saying to you, 2 years, because now your friend is to become your wife.
Right.
And she has some strong traits of what she's had to do to be successful.
Mhm.
The proof is in the pudding. And you've come along. You're a businessman also. And you're taking your role. Does that intimidate you that you have a fine looking, assured believer who handles her business? And how does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel wonderful because with her being an alpha woman, I'm an alpha male too. So we just
Wait
have to
a
find a
minute.
fine line.
Hey, I mean, we have two alphas. Wait a
Two
minute.
alphas, but you know.
When I did Myers Briggs, if we had two alphas, it don't work. So tell me how two alphas. No, you're giving me the church answer. I want the nitty gritty. If you have two alphas in a relationship, she's alpha because she had to be, right?
Mhm.
And you heard her say, I don't mind yielding when you are doing the right thing.
Right.
What I'm hearing her say is, once my security is in place and you've proven that you can be trusted, I have no problem in letting you drive.
And that's the key. The key is trust. But being a leader in anything, especially your family, a leader has to make decisions, right or wrong. You know, and that's the biggest challenge that you have. You have to make a decision sometimes, and sometimes your spouse won't understand that. You know, and as an alpha male, alpha woman, you gotta. I let her. We roll on her strengths as an alpha, and we roll on my strengths as an alpha. You know.
How do you guys, as alpha, I love this, as two alphas, right?
Mhm.
I ain't gonna name me on the alphabet. This is not my day, not my story. Okay, as two alphas, and you come to an impasse. Because have you guys come to an impasse yet? It's been two. It's and how did you resolve it that nobody was left damaged? Oh, I love good questions.
Yeah, so we have come to impasses that has led to some heated discussion.
Yeah, we call it that's church talk. I cuss you out.
Yeah. But you have to agree to disagree
That's what it is. Yeah.
and come to a common ground. So, for instance, if he's strong in something that he thinks or feels, and I'm against it, and I know it's going to go the wrong way,
Yeah.
I'll just sit back, and then he'll come back to me. So, baby, this what happened.
Yeah, and you said what? You said
And
what?
I just go,
You don't say get up my face.
no, because
You don't gloat.
it's not.
Come on.
I'll say sometime I told you so.
Yeah. You got to get up one end.
But I don't do it to the point where it's attacking his his manhood.
Yeah.
Because what good is that going to do?
Yeah. A lot of good to the flesh.
Mm.
Yeah. For a minute.
Mm.
For a moment. Yeah.
I won't do it. Even if I'm thinking it,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. I would not attack not just his manhood, but any man's manhood.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem in our culture already.
Yeah.
So why I'm not gonna bring that into my home.
Yeah.
But I also expect, it's like a two-way street with this alpha thing.
Yes.
So I get upset when he doesn't hear me
Yes.
because you're an alpha man, but you don't know everything. I'm an alpha woman. I took care of a whole household.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that I shock him with.
Yeah.
Right? Because I just wait on it.
A girl don't show everything in her tool bag, right? On the first day.
Right. So, I've raised my kids by myself from the time they were 2 and 4.
Yes.
And he knows how I am with my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty just
by the books.
Yeah, I'm strict.
You're by the books. You don't have any gray area. I can tell already. I mean,
So-
you're not at my table, but you don't have any gray. But what I'm asking, since you're alpha, because this happens in the church world, you have two. You guys are not. You guys serve the community. You guys are business people. You guys are in ministry per se in terms of how you serve the community. And here is the alpha, right? You're the man, and your manhood. You think you're right. Candace thinks she's right based on how she's navigated life. And this has come up often, more often than you would think in a marriage where people are marrying at later stages in life where they've been divorced already and now they're coming back together. This is not teenage fling. This is not no high school sweetheart. These are people that manage 2 different households and are now coming together because of commonality. And when they come together and they're living together, they're like, wait a minute, my mentality on finances, my mentality on retirement and security looks different from you. How I communicate. So Candace just said that if she said something to you and you decided, I'm strong-headed because you're an alpha male. You look reserved here because you're trying to hold it in. I'm not being fooled by none of it. Okay. All right. And so, because you slid in her DM, so you ain't that quiet. Okay. And you went to Vegas, so you ain't that quiet. Okay. And you're a businessman, you're on the road, a truck driver, so you've met all kinds of people. So you know how to negotiate and navigate. But my thing is this: does Candace sureness as a woman intimidate you on any level? And be honest, you don't have to dress it up.
Well, I wouldn't call it intimidation. I guess it depends on the situation. If I'm unsure about something and I kind of lean on her, but I still have to make that decision. Her strength, helps my weakness sometimes. So, but as I said, as a leader, you still have to make a decision right or wrong.
I know, but does it intimidate you? Because Candace she's neither black nor white. She is like, look, this is right. And this is what's guided me all these years, and it's not failed me. And here you're coming in, and you want to woo her. You want to sweep her off of her feet, but she wants to make sure that all ducks are in a row before you start sweeping.
I think it depends on the situation.
Like, such as?
Or if it's a decision I'm not sure of, and then I wouldn't call it this. It's sometimes we're unsure about a decision. And I wouldn't call it intimidation, but it kind of makes you unsure about yourself. You lean somebody else to make a decision as opposed to knowing what you should do.
Oh, that's good. That's good. See, and that's the thing. And Candy's talking about good pride and false humility. Humus, being low to the ground. Because we have companions, we have spouses, so that the two can become one. 2 is better than 1.
Right.
And so when do we yield our weakness and take on somebody's strength without feeling emasculated?
I think it's knowing thyself and know what your weaknesses are, which is a hard thing sometimes. And it's hard to admit your weakness, so that's why I know what my weaknesses are. Sometimes, and you try to be strong through those weaknesses, but sometimes you have to relinquish, and let your pride go and then say, yeah, you're right.
No,
so it's a challenge.
That's good.
Constant challenge.
That's good, because it's hard sometimes for men to say that's a challenge. Now, Candace, for you, the alpha woman, have there been a time when you know you need to let go, but caution the yellow light blinks in your head and you will delay relinquishing?
Of course. Of course. All the time.
I like that. See, Everett, you see, I like your wife. We need to, we need to.
We're all a work in progress.
That's good. That's good. Because now that you haven't officially honeymooned yet. You guys are still in the bliss stage, yet still there are differences because businesses are colliding, lives are colliding, families are colliding, children are coming together. How has that been now that you guys have a blended family where children are involved? And you did say in our first episode that your children have an affinity towards Mr. E already.
Ugh, they get on my nerves.
Oh,
My daughter, she's 29, but someone treats her like she's 15.
That's the baby.
I don't even know if he knows her name. It's always the baby. So when he say talk to the baby, I'm thinking he's talking about our grandson, right? I'm like, he's in school. Not that baby, So, but if she call, he going. I don't care where he's at. And if he calls her for something, she's gonna stop what she's doing. And my twins, they're the same way. One of them's in the military, and the other one just got out. But anything he asks of them, and they do it. They sit around, they laugh, they just get along.
That's good.
and I would say that has a lot to do with you, not just Mr. E, how you've raised them, what you've instilled in them. So kudos to you in before you got married in understanding the assignment and aiding your children to become productive citizens. And then I know he was looking at that from afar and handled them with care, because in handling your children and he couldn't have you. See, I'm going somewhere. He was handling you. You see, that's why I'm the pastor here. So when he couldn't have you, him dealing with your children, help me here, Mr. E, as they
I don't
call
know
you.
if I would say
Yeah,
have her
yeah,
or
yeah.
anything
It was,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
My
mean,
husband would say with your slicky woo woo self. Come on,
no,
talk
it wasn't
to
like
me.
that at all because I was married at the time and I wasn't looking at her in that way. I was in a
No, no,
program.
no. What I'm saying is, it's not in an inappropriate, like a lustful manner.
Okay.
But
I just
you-
want to get some clarity on that.
It's already
that wasn't my
it's
intention.
It's already in your past. You have the woman, so it's nothing to defend. But
Okay.
subconsciously,
Mhm.
knowing that you were in a program, I get that. But you know in your subconscious mind that this is Candace Johnson's kids.
Right.
Yeah, you did.
Oh yeah, he used to because my twins, they were a little rambunctious, just a little bit.
See, Mr. Everett is something else, you see.
And I remember him telling me one time, he said, I couldn't find one of them. I said, Lord, if I go back home without one of you, your mama's gonna kill me.
I see. That's what I'm saying. See, Everett, that's what I'm saying is you, even though Candace wasn't in your life because you were married, duly noted. So we're not trying to mar that or to tarnish anything.
Gotcha.
The fact remains that you're no longer married to that individual, right?
Right.
And for whatever reasons, we're going to leave that because the other person's not here. So but that's not the focus here today. What I'm saying to you is that there has to be an awareness that these are Candace Johnson's kids,
Right.
right? And so you were able to grow with them. You were able to see them, right?
Mhm.
And so you formed a unusual relationship because of your mentorship. So you come in, do you have children?
Yes.
How is that blend with you, Candace, with your children? Because that has to be a different story. Talk to me about that.
It has been a challenge. It's been a challenge. I'm gonna say that my biggest thing is I will never, ever come between a man and his kids. And so I tell him that all the time. And he said, but you're my wife, you my wife, and you come first. And I understand that, and I love that, and I respect that. But your children were here before me. Your children gonna be here during me. Ain't no after, but and after me. And so I respect the parenthood because of what I've been through, right? So, and I know he's a great dad. His girls got him wrapped around their finger. And it's just been a challenge.
Okay, so you don't share the same because mom is involved in the girls' lives. So when mom has been the consistent, and you as a mom understand that, and this is the vulnerability because in divorce, when the mothers stay with the children, it's a different kind of connection. Not that the dad is separate, but the parent that stays, the parent that nurtures, oftentimes get to be the more dominant voice.
Exactly.
And sometimes girls are a little bit hesitant to bond with another woman when the mother is in the picture.
And I respect that. And so I keep my distance. I am big on respect. And so even with my three, I don't care what's going on, what that adult do. I don't care how grown you are. You're going to respect that adult or we're going to have issues. And so I just keep my distance because I don't want any problems. I don't want to come in between his relationship with his daughters. And I know that there's an issue there because they love their mom. And I'm not going to disrespect that. So I just stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And I just listen.
And that's good. That's mature, and that's what we're talking about. There is no there are. That's why divorce is perpetual. That when there are children that are involved, you never get away, and it's finding a way to navigate this rugged terrain called divorce, called remarriage, called doing family together, called doing events together. Because nobody wants to dismiss their children, and everybody's children are important. And so, Everett, now that you understand that, how do you feel hearing your wife says, okay, you have a beautiful bond with Candace's children,
Right.
because you mentor them, and then you have your girls, and which is the apple of your eyes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
How are you helping the bridge, or do you even see that there needs to be a bridge?
Oh yeah, we acknowledge it. And like she said, it's a constant challenge, and my kids didn't have the opportunity to know Candace the way I got to know her kids, and they weren't able to be influenced, influential. She wasn't able to be influential to them as I were to her kids, So I think my girls have based their opinion mostly on,
Hearsay.
yeah,
Hearsay, yeah.
they're not
The other
giving her
woman.
an opportunity to
Yeah.
to have a relationship with her, and it's a constant challenge that I have with my kids. But I'm going to put my wife first, and that's what I do, and that's what I've done. And she knows that. So it's been a challenge, and it'll probably always continue to be a challenge. But like I said, you can't change somebody else's opinion about somebody.
That's good, and I'm glad because again, we're talking about authentic conversation.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a blended family, when families are coming together,
Right.
and nobody's thinking about these rough terrains or navigating emotions. Humans are not puppets. You can't predict because you're a good person. Everybody's going to see your goodness and automatically say mama when I got a mama. I ain't
Right.
calling no other woman mama when I got a mama. And rightfully so, no one is talking about that. But how do we, now that you guys are 2 years in, you've got grown children now, Candice have gotten grown children, so there's no babies involved in terms of this. And so you guys are seeing the difficulties bringing two sets of family together when there are different human beings involved in that. Because one thing you cannot do, I don't care who you are, is change another human being.
Right.
I don't care who you are. I know you think you're Superman. And I think one of the things that happen in divorces, I'm not being divorced, so I can't speak on it. I'm one and done, right? That's me. That's just my story, but this is not my day. I'm one and done. But when you have a blended family, this is what we're not talking about. That the present spouse sometimes the children that have been the product of the divorce thinks that they've been replaced, even though, even though most often it's not the case.
Right.
But when our humanity is challenged, when our space is taken away, then sometimes we believe that we have to blame somebody, and somebody becomes a wicked stepmother,
True.
the wicked stepfather, the Grinch, and then we put labels and names, and then we start calling people out of their names, out of fear, out of inadequacy, out of you've been replaced or misplaced, or the person always has to bear the brunt of the introduction, right? Like, this is my new wife, right? And sometimes it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
And that's why I oftentimes say that divorce is perpetual. And when we can have conversations, when we can go into counseling, when we can take God at His word, when we can respond out of the biblical response, we would stop having a lot of these dramas. We would not have as much. Why? Because we won't own our personality defects. That, yes, I'm called. Yes, I'm a business owner. Yes, I'm a preacher. Yes, I'm a doctor. Yes, I'm a lawyer. Yes, I'm whatever it is that you are, a housewife. Yes. But there is something on the inside of me that is broken and needs to be fixed. And until I acknowledge it, I am going to blame everything outside and around me, right? Without coming head on. But I like what you said, that you have to now shore up your wife. It's not replacing your kids, because it said leave and cleave,
Mhm.
right? So you're doing it the biblical way. This is my wife. This is who I'm married to. This is who I could covenant with. And I am not going to abuse her or let you mistreat her or mishandle her just to appease your insecurities.
Absolutely not. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned too in the marriages is, before you marry somebody, make sure that you get some pre-marriage counseling so you can get all this worked out beforehand. Be in what's going to happen before it starts happening.
Oh, did
Don't
you
be
hear
2
that?
years into your marriage and then try to fix it.
Oh, did you hear
So
that?
get some pre-marriage counseling so you understand what the person's deficiencies are. Try to understand what their kids are going through, what you're going to be going through with their kids. Make sure you try, because you have an opportunity to fix something before you have to fix it.
Did you just say you would involve the children in premarital counseling?
They're part of the marriage. They're part of the
Oh,
relationship, so you have to.
oh.
You don't want to meet them 2 years down the road or 2 months in. Here's my new wife. You want to have them
Like a handbag, like a pocketbook.
Right.
Here's my pocketbook.
Don't bring the puppy when it turns into when it gets older.
A monkey.
No, it's just make sure you have premarital counseling.
Okay, that's good.
And realize the dynamics of the relationship and what you're getting yourself into and the person's emotions. This goes back to something that most of us treat as taboo. To get some mentorship and get some therapy beforehand.
That's good, because I am a big proponent. Anybody I don't counsel or does not get professional marital counseling,
Mm-hmm.
I do not marry them.
That's good. That's good.
Why is that? Because after all the fling
Mm-hmm.
and after all the dating and the courting and putting your best feet forward,
Right.
after you have wined and dined and do your Jack in the Box stuff, that you have to come out that box.
Mm-hmm.
So I oftentimes ask uncomfortable questions. I give homework, and I challenge people to dig deep. I don't do like, okay, you're a Christian, and let's just get together. No, we're not doing that. Now, Candace, now you are a mental health professional, and you're coming into a blended family. You've handled your business. Your kids are respectful. You hold them to the line, and now you have Everett's children, who's become yours too, because at the end of the day, it becomes one big beautiful family. Whether some people are participating, whether some people are playing tug and war in this, is still one, because the common denominator is Everett. He has to handle his children and handle your emotion and handle your children. How are you feeling now that you're 2 years in? Did you see these challenges, or did you see them but you thought, I'm a mental health professional, I can deal with this when it comes?
I knew it was going to be some challenges. I didn't know the depth of them, right? So, because I never had an issue with his children, you know.
He put a ring on it.
He put a ring on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I would love to have a close relationship with his girls, you know. But I won't do it at the risk of my peace. And I'm not going to be disrespected. So I expect for my kids to respect him, even if they have issues with him. Or if they feel something is not right, they'll pull me aside and they'll speak to me. They would never go to him and disrespect him, right? And I want the same in return. If I can't get it, I can't be around you. It has nothing to do with them being his children, his people in general. But it being his children, it kind of makes it worse, you know, because now I'm stuck because I feel bad because these are his children. I can't build a relationship with them because there's a wall there because of the lies and the stories that was told to them, and that they're going to believe them. Who am I to go against their mama?
That's so common in
And I know their mom may be hurt, so I have to put myself in her shoes as well, you know. However, the respect still is there. You have to respect me. And if my kids didn't respect him, they couldn't be in our home, because I would not allow them to be in our home. If my kids didn't respect him, they couldn't call and ask him for nothing. Because if you don't respect him, you don't need nothing from him. And if you can't respect him, you can't be in his home. So the first time you come out your mouth disrespectful, there's a problem. There's a discussion for us to have. And so that's how I kind of feel with Everett. And like you said, I was straightforward with him. So I'm never going to try to come in between you and your children. But as long as they are disrespecting me, they can't come into my home or anything that I put together, because I'm not going to have it. So, and that was hard for me to say, because these are his children, you know, and I know the relationship he has with his children, and I know how much his girls love him, and I know how much he loves his girls.
It just doesn't translate to you.
It does not translate to me.
How can you be the interpreter in bridging the conversation? Because the burden of proof, the burden, it falls on you now, Everett, because since you have such a beautiful relationship with your girls, you have to create that bridge that leads to them. So
I think it is a burden on me, but at some point in time, you have to let it go. I can't continue to try to bridge a relationship. That person has to try to bridge it. So I can't continue to stress myself out or make somebody, like you said before, you can't force somebody to be something or do something they don't want to do. So it was a burden that, you know, to try to change that relationship and the dynamic of it with my son and Candace. But if you, some point in time, you just have to let it go, you know, and just pray on it. And that's all I can do right now, you know, and make sure they continue not to disrespect her, and just, you know, I just have to let it go. You know, there's really, you know, I talk to my kids about it all the time, but I can't change somebody else's mind.
And that's good, because again, here is the dynamics, people. If you're listening to Safe Space, just hit that subscribe button. And we're talking about when we have a blended family. Now, catching up on the story, Everett and Candace have been friends for over 17 years with no violation in terms of when Everett was married and violating those relationships, those boundaries. Candace was quite clear in her boundaries that 17 years ago when they dated for 2 years, when Everett wouldn't commit, that she says, okay, hit the road, Jack, put an egg in your shoes and beat it. And you're right. And she cut the communication, yet you were in a mentorship program with her children. So you still had contact with the children in a professional manner, and you saw them, but Candace was not communicating with you. And here you have, and then you were remarried again during that time, and that didn't work. So no, you have three children,
Mhm.
three children who are have been divorced, right? Because they went through the divorce too.
Right.
And they're in their mother's lives. And here you are, and here Candace now, you've pursued her, you slipped into her DM. Let's just make that clear. She wasn't trying to talk to you. You called her at 12 o'clock, New Year's Eve, and then you called her at 4 o'clock wanting to go to dinner.
I said at 12 o'clock, we're kind of good. Let me get back in here.
Yeah. Kids, did you hear that? Kids, did you hear that? Talk to your daddy. Anybody gonna be mad at your daddy? Leave the radio alone. Anyways, that's just a free commercial. and so we gotta catch our audience up. And so here you pursued her. She's a business owner. She's raising her kids. She's a mover and shaker. She's doing what she's called to do. She still carries you deep in her heart without any violation.
Right.
She has boundaries. She's doing her own work. You heard her say that every mental health professional has to have a counselor. Now, you've identified that you're doing your work consistently, but your children are not a part of that work. And Candace is thinking that 17 years of strong friendship that would help to navigate all that uncharted terrain. But here comes human beings. Here comes different people who have different stories because their experience in the marriage is different. How they saw parents acting is their story. And we've had to learn to respect how their vantage point is. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. There's no rightness or wrongness. It's how they believe, how they perceive, how they took it in. So that's where therapy comes in, where entire families have to go in therapy. But now that you guys are 2 years in, you've hit a roadblock and you're finding ways to navigate around it because Candace's kids are warm and fuzzy, and this Mr. E and baby girl, and then your kids are kind of it's kind of winterish.
Standoffish, right.
Yeah, it's winter, it's frigid, and we're not going to disrespect. I know who I am. You're welcome, and you can have a relationship with me without denying your mom the right to be mom. But I am just your dad's wife, and that demands respect. Those we have to table that, because that by itself is a deep conversation that takes different time. What I want to know now is that, Candace, I'm gonna ask you this. You waited. Did I say to you that you are special? You're one of those different rare gem, the Proverbs 31 woman who handled your business, and whenever it came, even though you know that he had work to do, such as yourself, but you were doing your work. He had work to do. You knew his story. You knew his challenges. And here you are, willing, ready, and able to let this man into your heart, into your life, into your space, to attempt to do forever. And you're cool with it.
Yeah.
Shucks. Oh, that's good. And Everett over here just fixing his jacket like, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh God, what is she gonna say?
Yeah.
Getting hot over here.
But listen, I know that this will take several sessions, and this is not a counseling session. What this is that Candace and Everett navigated difficult times through divorce. Candace doing her business, not stuck, moved on, and respected your making your decision, even though, excuse me, marriage was overrated, but because you admitted that you were going through pain and trauma, and you decided to do counseling, And you said that therapy for you is lifelong because you know that in order to be successful, you have to sit at somebody's table. And of course, God being first and allowing the Word of God to be your compass and allowing helpers to come alongside and point out spaces and places
Right.
that you may not be owning or you may not be identifying. So I want to say kudos to you. And as you guys are navigating blended family is because divorce is 60%. Blended family is a different kind of beast that it takes the faint at heart fail at it. Because even though Candace had been friends with Everett, the children coming in, the children's behavior and feelings was not a part of the equation. And that's what happens a lot of times when we have blended family. And I want to open a challenge that when people are coming together, whether because of divorce, because of single parent, because you've been a single parent, and you're coming together and families are coming together, that I believe, and this is just me, there's no law in this, but I believe the entire family at some point need to come into the marriage counseling, need to be counseled together so that each person understand their responsibility in this new norm where the respect lines are drawn, the expectations, what is allowed and what's not being tolerated. Because we cannot air our dirty laundry on social media. We cannot get back on all these social media when we refuse to have face-to-face dialogue. Face-to-face is still the best place to communicate when you're looking in each person's eyes, feeling their heartbeat, hearing their breathing, seeing the anger, seeing the disappointment, seeing the misunderstanding, and coming to an understanding. It doesn't mean that we all are going to be warm and fuzzy, but respect must be on the table and cannot be taken off the table, or else peace is disrupted, or else sabotage comes in. Because people sometimes, if my mom or my dad can't have this person, I'm going to sabotage this person. I'm going to sabotage this. And these are Christians, right? And they think they're not doing anything wrong. They believe it's their duty. So people in safe space, you've heard from the newlywed, the Smiths, that are navigating being newly married, still planning their honeymoon because it's going to be mixed with business and Africa. Oh, I love Africa. And you're going to love Africa.
I can't wait to go.
You're going to love Africa. And you're going to mix business. But at the same time, both are business owners. Both are successful in their own rights. Everett being a provider. Candice holding her home, buying a new home, putting everything together. Some challenges with kids blending together, coming together as one, is a continued conversation. In the meantime, you've met the Smiths. They're doing life. They're winning in life. They're conquering in life. And they're up for the challenge with therapy and counseling being a part of their vocabulary and dating one another either on a Saturday and knowing that's important and knowing that anytime that there are questions or there are misunderstanding that they come to the table. I love that. Thank you for coming to the table.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable, Mr. Everett. I know it's a little bit uncomfortable.
Oh, yes, it was.
And I know you think I was going to dig deep, but maybe the next time. Oh, no, just kidding. And Candace, I'm so impressed with you, with your sureness, with you understanding who you are, whose you are, not lowering the standard, but opening the lock to your heart and trusting an imperfect human being who's become beautiful to you. who's worth your time, and you take in his name. Girl, you bad to the bone. I'm just saying. I want to say to my girl, if I had my hat off, I'm tipping it to you. Everett, you are a blessed man. And my word to you is that allow the Holy Spirit to be the navigator. Allow the Holy Spirit to point out to you areas, shortcomings, beauty, and vulnerability can be beautiful. And letting go and letting that trauma, you can be healed from trauma by the Holy Spirit. Man's hand can't do that. But there's a supernatural God who specializes in trauma and drama, who comes alongside, doesn't force himself on you, and says to you, use these scriptures as medicine. I'll open yourself. And I love that you have a woman that is in that profession that understands what it looks like. She's doing her own work and brave and bold enough to bring this to the table. And I hope that as you're listening, this is a judgment free zone. There's no guilt, there's no shame. We're not labeling, we're owning up to our humanity, our shortcomings. But one thing that we know for sure, there is a loving God who paid it all. One thing that we know, that Christians are people that are imperfect with a perfect God who forgives their sin. Most times people will hold it against them. But thanks be to God that there is a God that when you cry out to him in your pain, in your shame, that he will say, come up hither, and he will gather you as a mother, as a hen gathers its chick. So I want you to know, if you are in a barren place, a broken place, if you're in a lost place, if you've been divorced, if you have mental health challenges, if you have pain, if you have shame, if you're blaming, if you're hiding, if you're scared, if you are having mental health breakdown, if you're thinking about committing suicide, let me tell you something. We have help for you. And you can call us. You can subscribe, and we will refer you. Candace is a licensed mental health professional. And I am telling you, we will refer you, we will love you, we will help you. It's one thing being in the pastorate that helps us. One thing that I know is that Jesus is the greatest therapist that has ever walked, and all of us are stealing from the page of his book. Your story is not finished until your life is finished. Get up, pick yourself up. Divorce is what you've gone through. It's not who you are. It's a life event that may be traumatizing, but that's not who you are. When you get a divorce, you become single. And you're available once you handle your business to choose another life mate. This is your prophetic purpose pusher, Pastor Denise. I hope you hit the subscribe button. We are trying to reach a generation that is hurting, that are being haunted, that are blocked, and they are stuck because they've been divorced. Divorce is not your final call. It's not finality. Divorce doesn't have to be fatal if you open your heart to love. Let love be the order of day. Remember, love the Lord your God with all your heart. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Practice loving yourself. Love who God has called you to be, created you to be. It doesn't matter the imperfection that is looking back at the mirror. Each of us struggle with something that we may not like, but we have a perfect God that doesn't see any of that. And that's the beauty of being a Christian. It's not because we're perfect. It's because when we mess up, we have a perfect God that says, come home. And he never runs out of forgiveness. Until the next time, smile and walk in love.